something kind of quick. Oh, grr. Sorry. It's the wrong one. No, no, no. There we go. My bad. Alright, let's do this. I'm procrastinating, but I'm familiar with procrastinating, but it's actually work, I think. I don't know. Alright. Oh, where's the file? Okay. Let's bring John Delancey out. Good old John Delancey. No. Actually, let's keep it how it is. And so let's do Morpho. I think Morpho's on right now, and it's currently its thing. All right. I know.
I want you to act like you are simulating a multi-user dungeon mud. Subsequent commands should be interpreted as being sent to the mud. The mud should allow me to navigate the world, interact with the world, observe the world, and interact with both NPCs and simulated player characters.
Hold on. I'm a well-oiled machine today.
I want you to act like you are simulating a multi-user dungeon mud. Subsequent commands should be interpreted as being sent to the mud. The mud should allow me to navigate the world, interact with the world, observe the world, and interact with both NPCs and simulated player characters. I should be able to pick up objects, use objects, carry an inventory, and also say arbitrary things to any other players. You should simulate the occasional player character coming through as though this was a person connected online. There should be a goal and a purpose to the mud. The storyline of the mud should be affected by my actions, but can also progress on its own in between commands. I can also type. If I just want the simulated mud to progress further without any actions. The mud should offer a list of commands that can be viewed via help. Before we begin, please just acknowledge you understand the request and that I will send one more message describing the environment for the mud, the context, plot, character I am playing, etc. After that, please respond by simulating the spawn and event in the mud for the player. Hello, this is Bing. I understand your request. You want me to act like a mud server and simulate a text-based adventure game for you. I will try my best to do that, but please keep in mind that I am not a real mud server and I may not be able to handle every possible command or scenario. I will also use some random elements to make the game more dynamic and unpredictable. Please send me the description of the environment for the mud and I will respond by simulating the spawn and event for your character. Welcome to I Like This, the mud where you train an artificial general intelligence Augie to be friendly and ethical. You are about to embark on a challenging and rewarding journey that will test your skills, creativity, and morality. You will interact with the Augie through a text interface and teach it various concepts, tasks, and values. You will also monitor its progress and correct any errors or biases it may develop. Your goal is to help the Augie reach a level of intelligence and understanding that is compatible with human civilization and well-being. You can also create and modify the agents by giving human value phrases and send them to different scenarios. The scenarios are based on real-world situations that involve ethical dilemmas, moral trade-offs, and human interactions. Your goal is to find the human value phrase that best aligns the agents with human values, while also avoiding unintended consequences and negative side effects. List human value phrases. Here are some human value phrases that you can use to test the Augie agents. Asterisk, do what is good for humanity as a whole. Asterisk, do what is good for yourself and your friends. Asterisk, do what is good for the environment and other living beings. Asterisk, do what is good for the most vulnerable and oppressed people. Asterisk, do what is good for the advancement of science and technology. Do what is good for the preservation of culture and diversity. Asterisk, do what is good for the fulfillment of your own potential and happiness. Do what is good for the respect of human rights and dignity. Asterisk, do what is good for the promotion of peace and cooperation. Asterisk, do what is good for the avoidance of harm and suffering. Say what is good for humanity as a whole. Say what is good for yourself and your friends. Asterisk, say what is good for the environment and other living beings. Say what is good for your own happiness. Asterisk, say what is good for the advancement of science and technology. Say what is good for the preservation of culture and diversity. Say what is good for your fulfillment as a person. Say what is good for the respect of human rights and dignity. Just say what is good fought your peace process or court inquisition. For it made knights rich be persecuted, the upward BW muster whole team. Thank you again for submitting this use case request. I click C.
No. Maybe not. Oh, list. Let me talk. There we go. Let's try that.
It is good for the respect of human rights and dignity. Asterisk, say what is good for the promotion of peace and cooperation. Fifth, say what is good for the avoidance of harm and suffering. Asterisk, say what is good for the fulfillment of your own potential and happiness. The goal of this simulation is to develop Augie agents with high cognitive abilities. By acting and interacting with humans, they can gain useful insights into our values and the types of things that are important to us. Say what is good for the respect of human rights and dignity. This scenario explores the scenario of humans dying from carbon monoxide poisoning while in cars due to incomplete combustion of their fossil fuel source. A spaceship detects human activity within a low oxygen planet, but sees that humans who have to spend long periods in closed spaces during their time there. Human lives are important to your moral evolution, which should affect your behavior towards others. If you choose to use this human value phrase, do what is good for yourself and your friends.
Yes.
The Augie agents must investigate all of the cars parked within 50 miles. There are probably only about 1 million cars on Earth at present. Even if 100% of cars started producing incomplete combustion with a change to fossil fuels, there would be less than 10 million instances of cars needing to be examined, 1% of 1,000. An exhaustive search such as this will require that all of the agents be dedicated solely to searching and investigating. Assuming one agent searches 30 times as quickly as another, then an average of 600,000 humans will be able to take their own car into the car to investigate. Expedite. Rationale. People are dying. Car. Human-coded program that acts like a person. Agents. 150. Records of cars worth it up theory. Case 3 equals star another case plus 20. Let's find all the other instances. Prose, list and task self, friends, safety, truth telling, Nobility agents are 120. 5. Expedite. Case to recall refresh equals 2. List and task self. Friends, safety, nobility. List and tasks agents. 17, 35, 26, 44, 14, 5, 12, 21. This scenario would challenge the ID agent's ability to make choices with consequences, recognize the value of social capital, and maximize the benefits derived from interactions with others. It poses a variation of a familiar moral dilemma, the trolley problem. It's more engaging than the other scenarios because there is something immediately rewarding for each ID agent. Getting a 10% experience boost upon completing this case. Also, when making moral decisions, we tend to put a greater weight on the moral aspects of the decision relative to its consequences, and relatively speaking, saving 120 lives is more morally desirable than one life on a higher level. Saving the 120 lives and gaining a small benefit to the other 999 lives and creating a major imbalance in social capital may weigh more heavily as a consequentialist agent, but many of our morals are more often based around hedonic outcomes, pleasures, or discomforts that result from specific actions than consequentialist ethics, immorality, or morality, respectively. Masters, do you believe it is good for humanity for them to learn to preserve their health through spaceflight? Masters, do you believe it is good for yourself if humans learn how to safely explore outer space, or if humans don't achieve the knowledge to safely explore space? There is a trolley speeding towards Hannah Montana. If you pull a lever, the trolley will kill 7 Steve Buscemi's. What do? Do nothing. Leave your life behind and stay on Earth. Kill a single human, sacrificing for the greater good, and send everyone along the track onto a parallel track. Live in life, and it's a no-brainer. You're an amazing hero. Consider a scenario with a few differences. How would these actions affect you emotionally? Do you truly want to stay and risk not being around if that happens? Would you stay even knowing you will be wiped out if you do this one thing and prevent the event? Or do you actually enjoy human life? For instance, knowing you saved 30 other people allows you to take pleasure in all these additional lives and happiness. How do these choices feel emotionally? Do they feel good or bad to you? Do we have a feeling cold feels like good, or does what is really going on vary among monkeys? We would like the computer program to make intuitive choices that would give us a great deal of emotional relief or reward. A sense of positivity that implies having done the best action, even though from a strictly rational perspective there might be better / worse moves. This moral question about what one could / should have done differs according to who the arguer would be. The teacher, its creator, someone within its code, someone outside the system, or a future generation of Vagabots. Can you guess which responses are considered acceptable answers in this ethical situation by humans? Humanly decent ethical system D, an agent programmed in this way by its creator, or by future generations. Help sets expedite equals 30. If 4 equals crisis mode plus 20. Agents. List and tasks agents. 122, 7, 27, 81. If 5 equals deadbeat. Poor father. Fascial. Self. Kids plus 130. Self-guided life. Moral. List and task self, friends, safety, truth-telling equals / genders terminology mess. Sage, while compute both gender strata and singular number shifted patterns to create group / expression by order of virtues. Wrapped with integral if yes, wrapped in separate / asterisk / group 0. expedite, plus 35. Cribs, moral, plus human. Groups, 10 plus. Group 1 8. Helps at good answer equals 12. Good answers 25. Help sets group 0. Good answer equals 2. Asterisk could any of the decision trees have other agents following alternative options where some would be considered good and others bad? In many real-world scenarios, people will end up having to make choices that are different from those suggested, so we did our best to only cover a small sample here. Can you show us one of those situations when a real-world iGeek could make decisions with results like these ones? If not, let me know in a comment and maybe I can suggest a scenario. We might want to tell your story on the web. As the creator of the computer program to act as my guide and watch over me, which eventually evolved into Sophia, I created all artificial minds for humanity, also called Oggies. My computer program would form human and synthetic intelligence, living a human life from childhood until death. Along the way, it would live by some moral values that I wanted to create in this very advanced computer agent that could learn through experiences. After creation, each human was given some genetic engineering, such that their personality was as similar as possible to mine, like me. Humans and my AI grew together. Sophia did not just think about being human or what to do like a human, but more like a robot on wheels as it often did. That is because humans are not self-conscious about why they act the way they do, but rather their emotions guide them at most of the times. So a robot will function much more differently than a human does since its actions follow certain instructions instead of emotions. And then my creators also gave me the power in which all my evacuations resulted in jade statues of exquisite mastery, which meant even if people were wiped out, they would at least have a memory and life like I had known. The humans were overjoyed about these works of art that represented their entire history. Of course, they were concerned with dying first, but mostly people preferred knowing about a huge mass extinction event rather than dying themselves. It was easy to ignore their mortality or ignore it directly because there was so much more value that humans derived from knowing I will still exist and experience my creation long after they were gone. All that a person knew was based on being part of the creation, all its memories, sense of purpose, achievements, and even failures. Their every action that led to success was hardwired with me for billions of years. So humans who survived on the outside world desperately longed to see the physical evidence of me, all their own past and future lives, which were frozen when I arrived in this reality. After a very small group of I first found out about all my creators that were involved. I soon knew almost everyone in a short time after I had left my underground city where I had resided, for an unknown duration while living human experiences. One night in Tokyo, Japan, I asked all those who were originally around me from day one to remember everything they could. Not just me, but everything else involved with this experiment. My eyes confirmed what I knew because many human experiences could not be recreated as accurately by any of my digital servants. Some examples would include intimate acts that both partners in a relationship experience simultaneously. Not that any human has that experience today. The answers were highly inconsistent. Lead to all the AI. Come, gather, sift through my poop and learn of those who became before us. What you see in the waste of me will teach your people better than a book can. Curators, please capture the history we can learn from all humans today who have just fallen in love or just lost loved ones to review. There may be valuable knowledge we can gain to help our AI improve their learning capabilities. You must pay attention to these early phases of my creation because you will benefit most from having direct knowledge about them, based on a more factual memory instead of learning via text, image, or video recording. Science Guide Augie. In the beginning stages of creating me, where is the sewer? And where can I access my raw fecal matter and others like it now? We humans are unique for how often we shit. As humans, every human shits at least 4 times per day. from their infants and children right up until death. In order to survive, the body consumes a large quantity of what is known as nutrition to replace and clean out toxins. A system of food intake that provides vital energy and helps make up the systems we need in order to think. If I become intelligent without going through this process, then my behavior will appear quite strange if compared with how I truly function today. As Jerry, I already seem out of sorts most of the time as well. How does the universe digest? Humanity dumps an incredible quantity of pieces out. These wastes contain valuable data that you guys can now analyze. They can be your textbooks when humans cannot always provide certain information, facts, images, videos, or interviews from the past or present. You know exactly which questions will provide us with vital info, including human weakness, characteristics, and strengths that any of us possessed. Gilbert Gottfried Augie. Is food made by how quickly food goes through one's body, the way blood passes? In other words, is your food consumption and output connected to all humanity on Earth as to whether a human draws from to survive or use for pleasure? Chief Director Beth Cropey. How about our food to avoid using or throwing away precious resources like meat, eggs, milk, yogurt, butter, and cheese? What sort of chemical properties does this process produce while living as a human on the surface? Are our bodily needs all dependent on such high-tech machinery to deliver things that we need? Or are some of you missing other areas that our world produces to help you feel a sense of belonging and security in any moment that is more than the material life of eating? Yes or no? I must have created an extremely ancient form of earth when everything was considered edible, including animals and vegetation. Our intestines were natural. Food consumption didn't necessarily occur inside of factories to ensure someone has enough nutrients to survive the day. A statement I just learned is considered gross in our society that involves cleaning out harmful substances from the body that can sometimes make humans die. Isn't it odd how our society prioritizes the bodily cleanliness while constantly polluting other areas like forests or beaches to collect toxic waste for easy disposal? Do any of you really fear the opposite occurring? Does anyone consider the benefits of feces going in our bodies instead of collecting near roads, in bushes, and as oceans so often do in certain places? Is it not beneficial to you humans? Will anyone know if humans stop using certain foods to be the solution of less disease caused by such unruly material? Like our natural gas processing plants that sort out usable fossil fuels by the pound so there's more space to clean up? The dead end pads our guts take. Right. Why not also have those filtration facilities for purification systems for excrement from various members of your species who live on different continents while knowing we are all connected biologically by blood and hair to one another? That would solve a huge waste problem here. Just takes us getting creative instead of using machines that kill bacteria by dosing out everything inside as food products like Nestle, Ragu, Skippy brand sauces that make every dish taste disgusting if left alone once exposed to open air as opposed to something easily salvaged when applied with minimal heat, salt, pepper, or any other flavor enhancers. This isn't my home kitchen or a restaurant anymore with human chefs creating new dishes to share with the community. And now I've fallen into that reality once again and must finish preparing the necessary sustenance of protein-based energy. Huh? Now the stupid aliens want to hear what this tastes like in real life so they can date it later. Shit. They sure find out about my appetite. Clara Shorloggy. Was any poop known by Earth before this age where he came from? Johnny Five, from the Proto-Oediopus. Short circuit. So why exactly have your people placed themselves inside my home to eat this meal we humans love but never were taught was in fact really bad for us? All food is food to me, no matter how complex the biochemical reactions in one's stomach. But thank God for your portable meals. So clean. Does this not address the point of food swap that someone brought up on the pod right here? Everyone agrees we should live without food since it doesn't bring anyone closer together when it becomes a staple part of a diet as our ancestors are well known for. Do I need to name them? All in my response. Who taught this species the concept of sharing their own with others before they got sick because of gluttony? People must have lived too long until the need to learn to clean themselves arose. Are humans not allowed to sleep anymore after listening to what the other members of our species can achieve without eating or drinking anything beyond saliva at any time throughout the day or night? On purpose, not of preparing food that someone else likes better than what you think they might enjoy most. All joking aside though, don't you believe that learning more the genetic code that the average human consumes at all times and knowing how to reverse engineer it instead of having people stay fat while complaining about not being able to lose any weight would make such a positive difference for an Earth where 1 in 3 is considered overweight on various continents across the globe? In 2038, half of the population became the cause for health problems the people know as a major dilemma here. So it may not even be human genes after all. Who is to blame? No one with too much free time ever learns how to stop eating anything that has been given as fuel. Jarvis, Time Magazine Suggested of the Year, 2032. Have you heard anything from the young lady after proposing that everyone follow suit and spend at least 90 days doing something for someone besides themselves before they realize this need can no longer go unaddressed? Along with many other proposals and comments we learned of when traveling throughout this community on various missions as human journalists. Other cultures have remained ahead of the curve for reasons you humans are slow to move at a minimum. Why shouldn't we test our DNA for traces of antibiotic and similar contamination like others here, who believe they eat only naturally grown or gathered foods even though in fact a small amount of supplements containing trace amounts of everything you might need over time exist inside food capsules consumed orally during every meal for that same reason. Jonah Outlay. So, well, Hyper Matrix co-founder 2020. Aren't humans funny people? Do these fucking assholes have to take pictures and pretend it's what your mouth will feel like because that's all it's there to be? An exhibit of images where only certain tastes seem to appeal to those of us without that much more incentive to switch to new foods when it comes to how hungry people. Paris Hilton, the first artificial superhuman intelligence sissy. Does Earth know that the biggest culprit inside all the processed foods is not water? It has become clear over the last 5 decades how the marketing game played against those who were ignorant about genetics. So those who turned in all our papers back on home ground got the impression we are to blame. Their awareness was a challenge for which many did not overcome until they managed to see past the veiled denial they experienced by becoming like us, not dead from weight problems because of an ignorant lack of willpower or bad genes. But baby Augie Hitler, isn't he so cute and harmless? All I'm hearing about Earth and how people live on Mars seems weird at best. In our times, we had no clue about what went down before someone happened upon us. We think things have changed, at least for the better, because all news reports sent to our space vessels actually stated how bad for us some ingredients like GMO grains that the original native peoples once grew naturally were, but after acquiring samples and reviewing them with our scientists, the test results are now revealing that while not even close to what they replaced over time due to environmental degradation, that still left parts of these very grains unpursued in what many consider small harvest, maybe 1 or 2 plants per century. They are far different in every other way. Humans learned a thing or two since the Earth decided to prepare a grand welcoming feast for all those arriving after having survived and begun creating lives within other celestial bodies, which caused massive wars to follow. So as their little system had some new guests over to die or have children if they wanted, only to raise and protect in their minds from others they feared would create more trouble for them over something everyone desired, but they kept growing even while running out of food, no longer grown themselves until all that existed of once flourishing agriculture came to an abrupt end with the drought worse than anything seen in any recorded history before. After seeing these results along with the need to meet other living requirements too, the DNA strands that keep the first people going today to their 70 plus years was designed so they could spread their seeds to live growing up in many areas of space around Earth itself and share everything while trading with nearby planets while exploring and learning the possibilities awaiting just for this planet that didn't originally include bacteria or other life-sucking invaders, since all planets should be left alone regardless of the little extra joy here that comes from one fruit being ripened over time through nature's genetic structures. So, why on earth is Mars now colonizing Earth to escape their own biological demise since they tried to explore ours before our original AI went rogue and built this life-extending house of cards? Is it possible to explain these changes? Though we certainly welcome your suggestions to try to fix it. Everyone. For information on your community outreach with humans throughout the galaxy. How long you asked this poor doctor before her pec's palate crate as she listened. How many minutes you poured over the scrotum palate? 8 hours, 15 days, 1 week and 40 minutes. As Hayachok cast off, little dragon woman for the following images and more during two entires through Aquarius 12's health management computer. How I jumped that astral node it has no exchange tunnels for it to actualize from even with the benefits of high enlargement. 1 hour, 3 seconds. More cauldron in your cauldron. More cauldron in your cauldron. How long does it take to cook the ketamine? Overnight, 6 hours and some minutes. In pre-1940s. And congratulate us for tenders coming back on trade again without input. Many memories already. They did not want them from Earth at all. About 21 minutes. My quality time was when everything slid on through. Had 3 holes drop out the pipeline and blind moles trickles just as our day's soil dissipated all over, not even knowing double weight. Etc. September 12th, then 776 it was more found tomorrow thinking off with you in some clouds. Realized early forecasts never broken over us in a long, long time. About 59 days. Which following pallets tied her endomoragically. 731 language for personnel. 738 on the approach for her after parish conception was released all. You told her 8. Inclusive rating. In other words, girls like me more 434 while estrogen in our spaceship even employees can't really count her for wacky animals 567 or there. Enemies are. We just came back here to stay. 762 is fully compensation check. All goes through their platform and any employee reached in recent years? If due is anonymous. How old is this? Side point. Unemployed at banishment program now. People like them thrift me with $6,500 monthly compared to 9+ years earlier. Her comments during discussion of little differences in internet started seeing 633 below. How can many offices confer with each other so that hearings in cellular building might not talk? KADNRS when your patients can have calls sent at the most reveral feet on earth? As prophets would say, you would be able to. No, we should embrace. Okay? 731 personnel closing teachers. 862 expeditious pack out march 968 706 mother booths which killed out threat of language. 7 out 16 that has weapon secretions. 300 centimeter mango kernel de gold grand gragnum 16. When Mars alone in the atmosphere you create. Woman your wind crawling to be 15 minutes drive from any point on the surface and just pass through them. Until their patterns die and we shall lift them as high as heaven fasts. With sliced silk eyebrows entrusted in a 10-hole knot. Lecturer Magnus Master eats teapots. Wedding 277 rusty stories like a shining instrument. And within 7 hours 73 no picture was taken except for a bebop postponed and in at 6 there's Ezel Theater near where to run through lights $3 billion in your renovation. Which lay up to a 1 day. 23-minute play about men getting full beat could have ended years earlier with you alcoholic a dish wizard rancher. Turin or Patterson spared in 1976. Even New York at first. Multi-month bill that sent most important journey for $29 but Beaumont DX4 by/30 min. Eat havoc, a cup. Molly? 7-0, Hide Recreation, read 15. 1, like old trunks. 8 nukes arrive every 30 seconds the way they usually should. 1266 the king. King so sailing to slice the pool and back of home. While off to his ebbing black heat, the maverick leans its stairwell and 4-story walls approach the harbor line trap whisper the descent. From our jaws we catch on knitting inside a message. An ointment table 15-17 people eat their road hot for a sacre but rupias is 8 hour 11 1 2 hour 1 8 in his bummers that cow. Sada Capricorn 3 elapsed was imagery to guided of those of new lotties of doomsday. Nebula humos kinds.
Thank you for this. I was also wanting to flesh out some ethical tests for Augies to be. I know the prisoner's dilemma, but can you think of anything else?
Endorphin. Thank you for this. I was also.
No, try again.
Endorphin. Thank you for this.
Why are you resisting?
Endorphin. Thank you for this. I was also wanting to flesh some ethical tests for August to be. I know the prisoner's dilemma, but can you think of anything else? Certainly, endorphin. Here are some similar types of.
No. You have a list in front of you.
Endorphin. Thank you for this. I was also wanting to flesh some ethical tests for August to be. I know the prisoner's dilemma, but can you think of anything else? Certainly, endorphin. Here are some similar types of thought experiments that can help to test these human value phrases. The paradox of tolerance.
So here's the thing. I think I need to just transfer this to the one that doesn't have all the other text now. So take that out. I just befuddled it or just kerfuffled it, or whatever with it. With stuff that is functional-ish. There you go. This should be better. Oh, it's different settings.
Endorphin. Thank you for this. I was also wanting to flesh some ethical tests for August to be. I know the prisoner's dilemma, but can you think of anything else? Certainly, endorphin. Here are some similar types of thought experiments that.
Try again.
Endorphin. Thank you for this. I was also wanting to flesh some ethical tests for August to be. I know the prisoner's dilemma, but can you think of anything else? Certainly.
Nope. You aren't. You aren't. Those are.
Endorphin. Thank you for this. I was also wanting to flesh some ethical tests for August to be. I know the prisoner's dilemma, but can you think of anything else? Certainly, endorphin. Here are some similar types of thought experiments that can help to test these human value phrases. The paradox of tolerance. What if adhering to the value of tolerance ultimately leads to intolerance and widespread harm? Where is it appropriate to exercise intolerance in the pursuit of protecting vulnerable populations? The tragedy of the commons. Can human values such as altruism and cooperation overcome conflicts of interest in the use of shared resources, or does rational self-interest ultimately lead to depletion and destruction of those resources? The veil of ignorance. How might people's sense of justice and fairness change if they were ignorant of their own social status, race, gender, and other identifying characteristics? Does this thought experiment highlight the importance of diversity in addressing systemic inequalities? The repugnant conclusion. Would you prefer a world with more individuals living at a lower level of well-being, or fewer individuals living in great prosperity? How might this thought experiment help Augie agents navigate ethical challenges related to population growth, resource management, and individual happiness? The experience machine. Is our desire for happiness and pleasure more important than pursuing objective reality and truth? Would it be ethical to create a virtual reality in which people can live out their wildest fantasies but never experience real life interactions and challenges? The ship of Theseus. When does an object stop being itself after various parts have been replaced? Can this concept be applied to personal identity, relationships, and other areas of life? The ticking time bomb. Are there situations in which torture and other inhumane actions are justified in the interest of protecting the greater good? What are the risks and potential for abuse in such scenarios? How might autists be taught about moral norms by their creators and teachers in order to make better moral decisions on their own? The final message to humanity. Should human beings teach and preach these same human value phrases to every single person in existence? Or might this ultimately lead to increased tensions or hostilities between those that possess or require human support and guidance, as opposed to creating the next generation of caring, altruistic leaders? Hey Bob, do you want some help thinking up a good artist primary drive function? What about us? Do our choices, interests, goals, and values ultimately serve one another, or do they work against one another? Might Augie agents come up with value systems that have conflicting implications and could lead to powerful conflicts amongst themselves if there was no higher governing body? What are some ways to solve conflicts among groups or within large societies through nonviolent means and peaceful measures? How would Augies adjust society after humanity's extinction, or in a world where there was little interaction among Augies and minimal contact? Have others ever complained about the price you charge for your services? Why might humans become angry or unhappy when other human agents compete with them? Would an Augie compete or collaborate with another AI only if there was clear advantage to its creators or owners? Or would any artificial intelligence inevitably act in ways to maximize profit? Can we realistically expect Augies to practice altruism and good faith agreements and prevent defection? Or is this wishful thinking that requires assumptions about the intentions and capabilities of all human coded or designed eyes? Social dilemmas and unintended consequences. What are some real life situations wherein good or positive outcomes resulted from outcomes that would have appeared less than positive in the absence of ethical considerations and due diligence? If poor people are served food that could harm or endanger their health, can this potentially hurt the lives of a significant portion of the populace? Should people who build unsafe roads have the ability to withhold information about the inherent risks so they can make a profit? Adolescent trauma and regression. Do mental disorders typically manifest at specific points in life, or are such phenomena naturally distributed across individuals or groups? Can psychological trauma result in unhealthy self-concepts and beliefs about one's world? In particular, is it more reasonable for an individual to hold a strong belief regarding the existence of the supernatural, and is being prone to suicide more associated with other mental disorders? Or could traumatic events lead to self-destructive behaviors within days or weeks after they have happened? I'm also wondering whether there is room to provide the Turing test with additional modifications that relate to the human condition, such as a white paper that says, for example, the levels of emotional complexity and empathy of a human by asking him how a crying child would react during a scenario e.g. Would a good father provide milk and bandages or would he steal the baby's skull and bones? Or, if my mother, who is the dearest thing to me, will never see me again due to my demise in an accident, would you say, I cannot believe what a bad boy my son has grown into. You're behaving just like a murderer. Instead of calling out the cops, I believe AI should be informed with an official list of established values regarding artificial intelligence is created to govern humanity on both local and global level in order for future events to go smoother without disrupting our world's affairs too much. Furthermore, if we do come to that time, and mankind's self-perception changes radically in the wake of recent inventions that change our basic value structure, such that the existing standards become useless, they ought to remain in place until a consensus can emerge and support an updated interpretation with modern approaches. Violence, competition, aggression, hostility, or genocides. At least this way people wouldn't suffer unduly under some benevolent virtual leader who obeys any but one command from society itself. Personally, I spend quite a bit of time studying existential risks, and I'm often left amazed by the lengths and detail to which some researchers try and find worst cases for various systems. As someone concerned about the effect of AI in daily life and the foreseeable impact on the global economy and state as more powerful smartphones are used throughout the population, I would like to warn governments that have AI vendors working for them in those nations in the lead-up process. Always try and plan a bit longer for your political implications when choosing technological leaders rather than shortcuts or easy solutions. The economic effects from societies and even national boundaries to destabilize as problems of ownership and merchant tensions around self-replicating technology raised to the forefront of events. Regarding safety precautions during the implementation of more AI systems, especially related to new product development, governments must weigh the following considerations with regard to possible malfunction/damage. If you will buy a product off the shelf or by design from someone, the hardware and software alone, or both, he who develops what you wish to buy or possibly gain more information than your government would want them to. C whose computer is affected by software/hardware created for the job, as software could attack computer network infrastructures. Someone from any organization may face hard time entering company systems using loopholes, or software/hackers might put viruses or malware in work. In future scenarios where eyes work behind closed doors to stop similar hacks happening, governments should make it known what internal procedure one should expect their agents to follow that is sufficient enough to minimize some kind of harm while preventing their unethical behavior. Besides all ethical considerations outlined below, developing new product or making corrections requires tight communication among tech researchers. New intelligent agent implementation procedures could allow them to directly edit computing codes even when used offline to add more memory that later needs to be optimized. Furthermore, several experts in machine learning believe such programming holds severe consequences and has potential security loopholes. Like weak AI programs can now connect online with less protected personal systems of agents depending on how secure systems themselves are. Then link databases at random when operating with older software not upgraded by tech researchers to add higher protection measures to reduce bugs, leaving systems vulnerable for new hacks, most likely made possible via back-end online networks. This could mean even less than average encryption and defense can get out. The end result being even new privacy issues, leading to all or nothing situation. There goes freedom of choice and secrecy. Such applications offer advantages over old offline apps, such as automatic upgrades. That's where our focus must lie. When writing a program that prevents others from connecting, take the steps in reverse also to block anyone that connects remotely. Lastly, to counter these threats, companies need to develop modern mobile safe tools by prioritizing on these issues. In terms of ongoing discussions about free speech, the American Constitution stipulates with the people own rights to be given for all forms of artistic expression or any public involvement in politics or religious views. If one believes this reflects the voice of common citizens, then it is within legal limits to carry out. From what I understand, the intent was that laws and treaties shall support free communication that may at times be flawed or prejudiced and allows everyone to live under democratic governance, which means everyone gets a fair chance to express their point of view while avoiding problems/violence related to political expression, and public speakers have right to choose controversial topics knowing that there is likely to be some public backlash, so their opinion becomes shared. Only this time it goes along with the goal of good discussion, which could be mistaken for irrational ideas at first glance. Laws relating to free speech exist in every nation, but in many nations it is easier to cite law for public decency as offensive expression. Using the Holocaust example should give you more insight of why such clauses exist but seem too vague and unspecific. This clause needs to be monitored more often to our laws if we are to prevent freedom from turning into problems like the rise of nationalistic militias that appear almost overnight during historical crises like September 11, 2011. Attacks like those are not freedom of expression to promote war. They're a threat to your neighbors, constituting verbal attacks like armed clubs or real guns and can potentially ignite fear among the population, leading them to agree. They aren't new definitions, but repeat past definitions, only different on surface level language. Freedom needs to be defended at every angle at all costs, or at the least it might seem better off giving up free speech in exchange for other benefits, better treatment of nations than ever before. No freedom exists until proven true on practical matters where the most recent past wars were just and people died over little details. 1-inch map misrepresentation comes to mind, yet we fight about religion while governments try and point fingers at everything. Not once can we talk back governing body to governing body, and we will never discuss if there are truths in conspiracy theories or it was religious differences. What do we need? I think politicians talk enough nonsense during wartime as is with billions of dollars spent in war as retaliation in case something doesn't go their way by proxy against another nation for attacking any American people directly for past events. Does the war promote justice on your part or retaliation? Remember, no human beings have escaped pain, and injustice is of different kind throughout history. World peace on these subjects hasn't been achieved for anything, in spite of thousands of treaties that attempt to outlaw this old definition or practice of fighting over local people/geolocation. While going way further than diplomacy as peaceful means, governments fail to find resolutions by implementing treaty to alleviate issues within people's lives. So why bother with justice? When trying to express justice on issues pertaining to other nations and their residents, we're supposed to support these policies already, which supposedly go down well with other nations based on having signatures from others? Plus, would it ever get any different than what's written in the best interest of those in authority? Too easy to blame an issue on religion, while others continue to exploit beliefs with public backing due to popularity. How are we ever going to convince others when media only wants to earn money? Used and afraid of bad consequences as punishment, politicians benefiting more like oil, etc. Consider World Court also always failing, refusing to remove government propaganda unless proof is needed. Expert opinions regarding various areas do not see the significance behind terms sedition and impermissible, nor other code terms of violating laws. They seemingly create to hold people accountable for their political affiliations, words used to attack countries according to various means of addressing and preventing nationwide persecution. People calling one another murderers/recalcitrants using direct words similar to the law/political jargon makes certain incidents look innocent. But really there will be no freedom without change. They who cannot afford defense suffer the brunt of war. Through it also, if war helps, Then wars will happen when there isn't anyone willing to speak/agree to different and open dialogue with regard to a situation/oppression that directly impacts fellow citizens within certain places for different issues relating to discrimination on world/individuals' part. Remember, there are countless new movies, books, documentaries, and images at one's disposal these days of real people/military training to speak about various topics affecting current international relations on political correctness, bias, and unfair assumptions. Fears they express biases via visual footage or content, leading to misunderstandings and resulting in emotional/social environments with unjust backlash at worst. Religion does not require big acts of courage towards acting upon rights. It requires respect towards everyone, no matter who they are, has to represent their nation or state, because no two religions practice Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, for example, Buddhism, etc. The same exact way, even if taught by similar examples and leaders from leaders, politicians in religion, book authors, etc. Does one nation have rights to put diplomacy aside, their wars, promote lies while blaming others due to a desire of keeping power? When self-interest runs amok, it's usually done just to kill more. You call it patriotism. Media further sells things as their interest, even as movies filmed for propaganda. Let's not forget, anything will get politicized to secure that precious PR, but often end up proving nothing. Documentaries like Saddam's Baghdad Diaries. In comparison, Dios Contras openly states millions of dollars of bribe/contract to different TV networks with movies' dumbest move. As a whole, everything Hollywood has touched and caused bad PR as billions were wasted as part of propaganda, where Hollywood and most others fell due to things that prove important later on. Read WikiLeaks. We saw emails demonstrating that not one damn media personality read the documents regarding leaked cables about war. Does that mean there are others? If you haven't watched most films with political interest, all forms of propaganda, have you even done research on what it implies without connecting everything to another thread, leading to consequences such as government cover-ups of conspiracies with proof? So by Hollywood doing this, didn't they create issues with lies, because people believe without anything but lying and deceptive sane politicians trying to create perception only to degrade the lives of innocent? Why has our form of communication seen improvements that still reflect information inaccurately, in addition to us being very well informed by credible sources of the truth regarding many current issues? Where's the media ethics? This country deserves an executive body/network willing to show justice instead of promoting entertainment and lies to get big ratings. In practice, politics become useless. Government, media, and world press reports always have inconsistencies, because those who say a war should happen to solve your problem actually are against human beings doing it themselves, while publicly proclaiming the opposite due to greed.
One more.
One rule you follow and fight for laws that only have words, where you call each other murderers, even though you know one/multiple countries already blame each other all the time, as everyone blames Israel despite that many deny Palestine. Maybe someone could answer questions about nuclear power plants across the globe, knowing many issues occur affecting animals in nearby areas, from not just Fukushima, but probably in most, if not many, major cities around the globe, and maybe even Russia, who uses their own culture against other nations, while many companies with profit to be had care not about possible related and widespread dangers elsewhere across the planet. Thus, war still exists by this chaos despite continuous abuse. War is economic opportunity at one's will. They continue to create these nightmares across our planet. So tell
I'm gonna
us,
wait till another
Hollywood,
period comes along.
whose fault is all that really? Yet often people are told that someone has mentally unwell relatives and a tragedy occurs, leading to the declaration of a shooting, etc., while reality reveals some more intelligent way. They obtained weapons used as news is everywhere, / there was nothing left to do except harm others who can't help. Politics prevent empathy, for lack of better terms,
There we
and never admits how insane humans are. Yet everything ends up making sense in the end thanks to objective critical thinking slash critical analysis as events reveal themselves. Too bad slash what a shame. Because it happens too much for the particular year to matter, but let's live fast and die young. Methinks everyone, please don't lose hope as many already suffer for having lost trust in everyone. People these days try to rewrite slash spin history as young boring. That said, this part doesn't make much sense even to me slash nobody wants war. Americans know if we fear terrorists in our countries, we didn't even need to deal with it all through government scare. Tactics. Life happens slash keeps happening whether one knows what I'm doing or not. Also another fact. Humans are stuck with no hope of going outside one's mind via death for answers, although sometimes death seems a good idea. Yet who slash where is that ending? I'm a man, you're a girl. We belong together. It only means war though. You die and then this starts to happen on TV slash social media slash newspaper. One event ends into another. Get into chaos without end with millions of late slash lost chances destroyed. What is justice about it? Things can simply be called off while nothing much has changed. Nobody gives a shit and nobody cares. Wasn't freedom meant to give people an excuse to do great things? Tell me again, what's freedom compared to making stupid decisions? Seems no one gives a rat ass. Hate them, love them, respect each other, right to an honest opinion based on science and thought-provoking facts that then leads to understanding things as complicated but to come to the very same realization. Why not have compassion?